Okay guys, we're gonna try this one more time. I started a live video a minute ago and then it cut me off. Let's try to let everybody know this one's working. Whoops. Turn down the volume. Okay. All right, give me just a minute. We're gonna make some cute little ornaments. All right, I hope some people join us here in a second. Give me just a minute. Okay, I think I've got it set up now so everybody can see. So what I'm going to be working on here is, this is part of the ornament club from Shabby Fabrics. So I'm going to be making this ornament, and it is a 6-month subscription to make, you get 2 stockings a month. So let's see, these were the first 2 stockings. So I got these last month. And then I got these 2, and I made one, and I've got one done for Christmas. But before I put away all my Christmas stuff, I'm going to try to get the other one done. So I have some to put away, and then the others will come later. So I just thought I would do it with you guys. Okay, so the cool thing about this is all these little pieces are in the kit, and they're laser cut. And they have the heat and bond on the back, so it makes it really easy. So you just do a little bit of decorative stitching. So when I open the packet, now they do have videos on their website, but there is no instructions. So if you're new to sewing or new to this, you probably want to go watch the video, or you can watch me do it. You know, I was able just to kind of figure it out. Now it does give you it gives you numbers, so it's kind of a sew by numbers per se, but like this right here, the number 1, then a number 2, 3, you like which piece, because you're going to layer each piece here, and then do a little sewing, iron on the next piece, and so on. So it does have that, but really that's the only instructions. So then I have all my pieces in my little bag. So you want to be careful, because there's some little pieces too, and there's always like little tiny buttons, and I mean teeny tiny, so be careful not to lose those. So one of the things that comes with it is this piece of fusible, what is this? Fusible batting, but it's fusible on both sides. So the first thing you do is iron on the material. Let me see. Actually, I may have lied. The first thing you want to do is sew the stocking cuff to the stocking. So you have a front and a back. So this is the cuff, and I'm going to put right sides together, and I'm just going to sew this right here with a 1/4 inch seam allowance. And then I'll get the back piece and do that as well. So I'm going to angle the camera down a little bit so you can kind of see what I'm doing. Let's see if I can swing it around too. Okay. So let's get started. So I'm just going to use a 1/4 inch and sew this. And honestly, there's not a whole lot of, you're just doing some, let me get that started better. I just threaded that. I should have pulled that up. Okay, so we've got the cuff sewn on, and I'm going to iron this so that the seam, you know, I can press it up. And I've got my iron next to me, and I'm using this wool mat, which I just got, which is pretty handy. So I was able to just put this right here. So I'm just going to take this and iron that up. Do the same thing front and back. Now I'm going to take the quilt batting and we're going to sandwich this because I'm going to put, they give you a lining piece too. So this actually goes on the back side, not, this is the back of the stocking, but this does not go on the batting. So I'm going to line this up, and I'm going to put the piece of white fabric lined up on it also. Lay this down. And I'm going to iron this because it's going to adhere to both sides. And you want to do this step first, because then as we add pieces and do a little stitching, it's going to give it a little bit of a quilted effect because you've got the batting in there. So if I get my little diagram here, the very first piece is going to be the piece that goes across the toe, which is going to be the white, so it looks like snow, I'm assuming. And so there's two pieces here. So it's laser cut. I'm going to pull this out. And then I have the little chimney smoke, so I don't want to lose that. Now on the back of this, it feels like paper. You need to peel that off because this is the heat and bond. So peel off the paper. And then you'll just lay this on here. It'll line up. Everything fits just perfect. And then I'm going to iron this. Okay, just give that a quick press. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little stitch right across the top. And I'm kind of using my picture, kind of see what kind of stitching. Looks like they just did a straight stitch because a lot of the house is going to cover that. So I'm not going to do anything decorative right there. Trim these threads. I'm not going to worry about doing any back stitching. So then our next piece is going to be the house, which is the navy piece because we've got number 2. So that's going to be this square. Peel that off. And as you can see, very closely, this corner is taken off. So that's going to kind of indicate that that's going to kind of butt right up to the edge of the stocking and then the corner here. So that kind of tells me how far, where to put that, because I can put it up and then it fits that curve just right. So I'm going to press that. Oh, I'm going to look at this again. Okay, I'm going to change to a decorative stitch. So the roof is going to cover this. So I'm just going to do the decorative stitch down the side and across the bottom. And I'm going to change my thread. Get my navy thread. You've got a lot of little areas to sew, and you have to change your threads several times just to do a little tiny area. Okay, so I'm going to change my bobbin thread too because I don't want that bobbin thread. I had a white in there and I didn't want that to get pulled up at all. I'm going to put in a darker one. Okay, now on your machine, mine is showing up here, yours may be on the screen just depending on how many decorative stitches you have. You have all kinds of decorative stitches. I'm going to use one that they refer to as a blanket stitch. Okay. I actually want to make this smaller, that's too long. I need a smaller one. The one I chose is too long for what I'm doing. Let me look on here real quick. Oh, this one is the one I want. Okay. So I don't want really long stitches because it's just a little tiny area. Now the bad thing that I'm not used to with the decorative stitches is they take a lot longer to sew. So you gotta have a little bit of patience. I'm used to sewing really fast. You do want to keep, if you have a needle down button, make sure you have that on. Because I'm going to put the needle down and then I'm going to swing this around and then go right across the bottom. And in all honesty, if you didn't even want to sew a single thing on this, you could just iron all the pieces on and then just sew the stocking together. But I'm just wanted to add some texture and give it a little bit of a quilted look. Now, I'm going to show you the back side because you'll be able to see the stitching better. But that's what that blanket stitch is doing. Okay, so that's a little decorative stitch. So our next piece, let's see, is going to be the window. So our next one is number 3. It's going to be the little window. And again, you want to make sure you peel the paper backing off. Sometimes it's a little tricky to pull apart. Okay. And I'm just kind of eyeballing this because we are going to have the roof on there, so I don't want it up too high. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and press that. Okay, so now I'm going to change this back to my white thread. And I think I'm just going to, that's a very small area, so I'm just going to go back and do my straight stitching. I'm not going to do the decorative. But you can mix it up, do some decorative, some non. It's totally up to you. Okay, so now we have the window. Our next piece is going to be the wreath on the window. And I'm keeping all my little pieces in my bag so that they don't fall off my table or I lose them or anything, because they're a lot of little pieces. So I'm going to just lay this on here. press it. And then the next piece is going to be the roof. Now they're both green, so I'm going to go ahead and put the roof on, and then I'll stitch the roof and the wreath because I can change my thread for that and have them both ready. I swear peeling this backing off is more of a challenge than anything. I broke my fingernails, and so I don't have much fingernail to help me do this. Okay, here we go. So then, again, I'm just going to kind of eyeball that. Now this picture is actually showing that the roof is cut off a little bit, but when I sew that, it'll get into that stocking. So now we will stitch around the roof and do a little stitching around the wreath. Now I have done this where even though my backing is white, I left a white in there, but in some spots it was pulling up the bobbin a little bit and I didn't like seeing that white speck, so I am changing. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to do a straight stitch because this is pretty small just around the wreath, and then I'm going to do a decorative stitch around the roof. And this is circular, so I'm definitely going to keep my needle down so I can kind of pivot as I go around. And my machine is made more for quilting, so when you have the needle down, it will ever so slightly raise the presser foot, and then I can swing it around a little bit easier. So you may have to just actually take your hand and raise your presser foot, not all the way up, but literally just take some pressure off of it and then turn it as you go to help you get around that circle a little bit easier. And I'm going to do the inside of the circle. And this is a little tiny circle, so you will have to do a lot more pivoting. I would take like 2 or 3 stitches and then turn. Definitely. Okay, so we've got that stitched. Now I'm going to go back to my decorative stitch for the house, or the roof, I mean. Make sure my needle is in the needle down position. So as I get close to the top, I'm going to pivot and then go straight across. Okay. Get this trimmed. So you can see the back of it better, but it's giving it texture on the front, giving it that quilted feeling. Now we are going to do, let's see. Now this is going to be a little bit tricky because we have to put the smoke coming out of the chimney on first. So we kind of gonna, I might iron a little bit of the chimney and then just not do it all the way down and then be able to place that because I want to make sure it's in the right spot. So okay, so I'm going to place this here. And then I have to get this in the right spot. So I've got it lined up where I want it, and I'm going to press this all at the same time. But the best part about pressing all this on is it's not going to shift as you do your stitching. Okay, so let's switch. I'm going to do the red first because now that I'm finished, I'll sew the stocking together with the white. So I'm going to do the red first. And I think I will do the decorative stitching, the little blanket stitch around the chimney as well. And then the smoke is very thin and small, so I'll probably just do a little straight stitch for that. Okay, so now we have that done. See that stitched on there? Now we're just going to do a little straight stitch and stitch this on, and then we'll put our stocking together. Put all that away. But I really like this kit. I think it's kind of fun. Stockings are super cute. I haven't used a kit from Shabby Fabrics. I actually found them on YouTube. Watching some of their videos. I was like, oh, I really want to try that. Looks really fun. So get this thread. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to the straight stitch. I'll just do it around the outline. And this is very similar to going around a circle. You've got some curves, so you're going to have to put that needle down, raise the pressure foot ever so slightly, and so you can turn it. Okay, let's see what we have left. Okay, so the next thing we have is this fabric. This is actually our hanger. So I'm going to fold this in half, and then I'll fold those raw edges to the center and top stitch it. And that's going to be our hanger. And then I've got the back, and we're going to sew right sides together and stitch it around. I'll show you how to do that. So let me iron this first. I'll iron. So I just gave it a crease, and now I'm going to take those raw edges and fold it to that center on each side and iron it so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so you can see I've just folded it to the center and then fold this together. And I'm just going to top stitch this closed. Then we will fold this in half. This is going to be our stocking hanger. Okay, so one thing I do want to do is I want to make sure that these line up where I have joined the cuff to the stocking. I'm going to put a little pin right there on both sides. And I'm just going to sew all around the edge here. This is going to get tucked down in there so you won't see that raw edge. And then we'll attach the hanger. Now I am going to do a little reverse stitch as I get going. Whoops, gotta get going forward. Just keeping my pressure foot right on the edge of my stocking. I'm going to show you kind of how some. I'll do a little reverse, lock that in. Now, one thing we do want to do is we want to clip in the curve here and maybe around the heel. Anytime you have curves. You want to clip that. It helps it lay better when you turn it. So just little slight clips. It's a very, not a very deep seam allowance there. And it's a small stocking, so it gets a little bit harder to turn. And I'm going to use my scissors, even though they tell you not to. I do it all the time. It's a bad habit, I guess. You can use your point turner, but just be gentle. Be very gentle. You can even use the handle of your scissors. But I'm just using that to get down in there and push out the stocking. But you have to be very careful not to poke a hole in your fabric and ruin whatever you're working on. So just be gentle. And I see a little spot that I did not get. So I'm going to pull that back out. I'm going to show you that. Can you see that? Right there is not stitched. So I have to pull that back through, get that stitched. And get that poked back through. Let's see here. Just right there. I see it. I got two. I didn't get in deep enough. That just needed a little bit deeper. Just pushed out. Use your thumb a little bit. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to press it real good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tuck this down in here. So let me press this part first. Get everything smooth. I'm pressing front and back. So now what we're going to do is just tuck in this part. Because it's an ornament, it's not going anywhere. But even if you wanted to use this as like a little gift card holder, you know, you can, or put a candy cane in it or something decorative. It's an actual functioning stocking. Okay. Now I'm going to take the hanger and I'm going to drop it down in there. Now this gets a little tricky, so I'm going to do it on the machine, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to stitch in the ditch right there. So make sure that the hanger, I'm dropping it down in there, is down far enough. And then you kind of have to pull everything out of the way. And I'm just doing a little stitch right across the hanger on the back. And clip all in any threads. And there we have it. Let me iron it. But ta-da! So this is the 4th one done. So I think it's adorable, but I love it gives it a little bit of quilting, you know, a little bit of texture to it. But like I said, if you get going and you feel like you're not doing a great job, you can just iron all these pieces on and then just make the stocking. So you don't have to stitch on here because you iron it on. It's not going anywhere. You know, if this was an item that you were going to wash or something, that would be a little different story. But you know, you do just a little bit of applique stitching. You can use some of your decorative stitching. If you're really ambitious, I don't like to do things by hand, but if you wanted to even stitch this by hand, you could certainly do that as well. But the nice thing is, because it does have the Wonder Under heat and bond on the back, you know, you iron it on, it's not going to move, so it's in place. So that really helps with your sewing. Now, the last thing to do, and I'm not going to do this on camera, is sew on these little teeny, look how tiny those are. Put my hand behind it so you can see it. These little teeny tiny buttons, and they are going to be the little berries on the wreath. So I'm going to sew those. And now that I think of it, I probably shouldn't have put the stocking together, so I'm really going to have to, I might even have to unstitch this. Now that I think of it, I should have done that before I put the stocking together. So I'm definitely not going to do it on camera now. But put that on before, put your buttons on before you put the stocking in. So I might just unstitch one side and then, because the hanger's there, and then just hand sew those on and sew it back because it's very easy to do. I may be able to get it in there, so we'll see. But as you can see, sometimes it helps to have a little more instruction. I just got going and was excited to have it done. So anyway, I hope you have enjoyed this video. You could definitely create your own if you're crafty enough. If you have a silhouette or a Cricut cutter, you could cut little pieces, because that's the hard part. These are laser cut, which is really nice. Is sometimes hand cutting these little pieces and creating your own little designs. But I just wanted to show you some of the other stockings and just show you how fun it is. And so this is the Shabby Fabrics Ornament Club collection. So I've got 4 more months to get these, so I guess when the other ones come, we can do some more ornaments. But thanks for joining me, guys. I appreciate it. If you're new here, be sure to hit that subscribe button. And if you want to get notified for our next videos, just hit that little bell icon and you'll get a notification when we have a new video. And I appreciate you guys being here. Have a good one.